The star called Jaros had always burned bright in the center of the Trian galaxy. 12 alien worlds lived under its warm light for thousands of years. Cities rose, spaceports buzzed, and starships danced through the solar winds. But now, that star was dying, and with it, the hopes of billions. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. They were made up of the wisest and oldest races in the galaxy. The Ilari with their glowing eyes, the Korthans who lived for centuries, and the winged Arvans who never touched the ground. All of them gathered inside the silver halls of the EE, High Citadel, floating above the capital world of Virex. One by one, the council members stood and spoke. Their voices were full of fear. "The collapse has started," said the Ilari leader, his voice calm but heavy. "The core of Jaros is unstable. In less than 20 days, it will go supernova. Nothing will survive." The room went silent. A Korthan general stood. "We have studied such collapses before. There is no way to stop it. Not even time-jumping tech can undo this. We must evacuate." "Evacuate 12 planets in 20 days?" said an Arvon diplomat. "We don't have the ships. We don't have the time." Murmurs filled the air. Some aliens looked down. Others shook their heads. All their advanced knowledge, and still, they were helpless. Then, a voice spoke from the back of the room. "What if we don't run?" Everyone turned. A human woman stepped forward. Her name was Dr. Elena Reyes. She was Earth's chief stellar engineer. With short black hair, a sharp gaze, and a calm face, she looked too young for the council chambers. "What did you say, human?" asked the Ilari elder. Elena walked to the center and looked around. "I said, what if we don't run? What if we try to save the star?" There was laughter. Light at first, then louder. "You want to stop a star from dying?" said a tall Korthan scientist. "Impossible." "Stars are not machines you can fix," said another. Elena didn't flinch. "We have a plan. We've been working on this for years. It's called Project Hearthlight. We use controlled fusion detonations to release pressure around the star's core, slowing its collapse. It buys us time." "That would take hundreds of fusion cores," said one alien. "That would take perfect timing, perfect math." Elena smiled. "Good thing we brought both." From the side, Earth's ambassador stepped up. He was a quiet man in a gray suit. He held a small hologram in his hand. With a touch, it showed a fleet of human ships, already flying toward Jaros. "The mission has already begun," he said. "Captain Isaac Vorn leads the operation." The council fell into stunned silence. "You started without our permission?" said the Ilari leader. Elena nodded. "If we waited, there would be nothing left to save." Meanwhile, in space, Captain Isaac Vorn sat in the command chair of the Valiant Dawn, Earth's top fusion cruiser. He had a strong jaw, gray in his beard, and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. He stared out the window at the distant light of Jaros. "Time to make the universe believe in miracles," he whispered. Beside him, his crew worked fast. Engineers ran system checks. Drones carried fusion cores. In total, there were 38 human ships, each carrying parts for fusion stations that would orbit the star. Their mission, plant them, link them, and ignite them all at once. It was a race against time. Back at the council, the other alien species argued. "You humans are reckless," shouted a scientist. "If your plan fails, you might make the explosion worse." "Let us decide our own fate," Elena said. "If we die trying, at least we did not sit and watch." That stopped them. Even the oldest among them had to admit, humans had always done the impossible. The Ilari elder sighed. "You may continue, but the council will not assist you. You are on your own." Elena bowed her head. "That's all we need." The ships arrived at Jaros 2 days later. The star was trembling. Solar storms lashed out into space. The light pulsed, like a heartbeat slowly fading. Captain Vorn's voice came over the comms. All ships, begin deployment. The crew got to work. They launched drones that built fusion stations in orbit. Robotic arms placed power lines, shield, generators, and ignition devices. On the third day, things went wrong. A massive solar flare erupted from the star. One station, Alpha 3, was hit. Its systems went dead. No power. No controls. "We lost Alpha 3, shouted a technician. "Without that station, the whole plan would fail." "Which ship is closest?" Vorn asked. A young officer pointed. "We are, sir, but the radiation—" Vorn stood up. "Suit up. We're going in." Elena, watching from Earth Command, protested. "You'll be flying straight into the storm." "Then we'll fly straight and fast," Vorn replied. He led a team of 5. They flew a small shuttle through the burning light of Jaros. Radiation alarms screamed. Heat shields melted. But they pushed on. Inside Alpha 3, the reactor was unstable. A coolant pipe had burst. The fusion core was seconds from overloading. One engineer, Mira Lan, stepped forward. "I can fix it, but someone has to hold the panel open from the outside, manually." They all looked at each other. Then at Vorn. But before he could speak, Mira was already climbing into her suit. "I have no family," she said with a sad smile. "But maybe this will give others a chance to live." Vorn tried to stop her, but it was too late. Mira floated outside and pulled the lever. The radiation burst through her suit. She screamed once, then fell silent. Inside, the systems lit up. "Core is stable," the engineer whispered. They flew back in silence. Alpha 3 was online. The mission could continue. When Elena heard the news, she placed her hand over her heart. "She saved billions," she said. In the council chambers, some aliens were watching. Even the cold Korthan general said nothing. For the first time, they understood what it meant to be human, not because of intelligence or machines or money, but because of heart. Because humans refused to give up, even when the stars said otherwise. The star Jaros was no longer just a dying sun. It had become the center of hope and fear for the galaxy. Human ships now surrounded it like tiny insects orbiting a giant fireball. Fusion stations were almost complete. Dozens of them floated, in formation, held in place by gravity anchors and ion thrusts. From a distance, they looked like glowing rings around a star that once ruled silently over 12 worlds. On Earth, Dr. Elena Reyes hardly slept. She sat in the control room, eyes fixed on the live feeds from space. Numbers ran across her screens. Temperature readings, energy levels, magnetic storms. Everything had to be perfect. One mistake, and everything would be lost. Elena opened her comms and called Captain Vorn. "Isaac, how are we on the West Ring deployment?" she asked. Captain Vorn's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired. His eyes had dark circles, and his voice was slower than usual. 5 stations left. We're ahead of schedule." Elena smiled softly. "I know you haven't rested in 2 days. You need to sleep." He gave a dry laugh. "After we save the galaxy, I'll sleep for a week." But both knew there would be no rest if the final ignition failed. Back at the Galactic Council, the mood had changed. What started as laughter and doubt had turned into silence and cautious watching. News networks broadcast updates from Earth and the human fleet. Across the galaxy, ordinary aliens sat in their homes, wondering, could humans really save Jaros? Some started calling it the human gamble. Others simply called it hope, but not everyone believed. On the cold planet of Norinth, Council scientist Drazik watched with anger in his eyes. He was from the Solari species, known for their logic and deep thinking. To him, what humans were doing was dangerous, too dangerous. He whispered to himself, if they fail, the explosion will be worse than death. Drazik believed it was better to let Jaros die naturally. He had warned the council many times, but no one listened now. Everyone was watching the humans, so Drazik decided to act on his own. He contacted a hidden group of scientists who shared his fears. They made a plan, a quiet plan. If they could delay or damage the ignition controls, they could stop the experiment. They would blame it on a system failure. No one would know. Back at Jaros, the human engineers finished installing the final fusion station. It floated into place just above the star's surface. Drones linked it with the others. The whole network was ready. They called it the Ring of Fire. Captain Vorn stood in the observation deck of Valiant Dawn and stared at the burning star. "It's time," he said. But before they could begin the final ignition test, alarms rang. "Commander!" shouted a crew member. "There's a virus in the ignition software!" "What?" Elena gasped, watching from Earth. Captain Vorn rushed to the terminal. The system was glitching. The countdown clock blinked and disappeared. Red error messages covered the screen. "How did this happen?" Vorn asked. A young programmer named Leon shouted, "It was uploaded through a council link. Someone tried to stop us." They were being sabotaged. Vorn clenched his fists. "Shut it down. Reboot from the offline backup." Leon nodded and worked fast. Sparks flew from one of the servers. It had been infected too. Meanwhile, Elena contacted the council. "Someone has attacked our system," she said firmly. "We need to know who sent this code." The Ilari elder looked shocked. "We gave no such order." But the Solari ambassador was silent. Elena narrowed her eyes. "Check Drazik." The council guards moved quickly. They searched his lab and found evidence, plans, code scripts, and messages. Drazik was arrested. He did not fight. "Their experiment will kill us all," he shouted as they dragged him away. "I tried to save you." The council was ashamed. They apologized. But Elena had no time for speeches. Back at the star, the system rebooted. They had lost 6 hours. The star's collapse was accelerating. Its outer layer had started to tremble. If they waited any longer, the ignition would not work. Captain Vorn gave the order. "Begin the final phase." Every fusion station lit up. Blue lights flowed from one to another. Like a chain of glowing beads, they connected around the star. The Ring of Fire was alive. Elena ran calculations. "Good. Timing is on track. But we must adjust the blast angle by 0.2 degrees or we risk rebound pressure." A pilot named Juno took her small ship and flew close to Station 9. Her ship danced between solar flares and heat waves. She adjusted the core manually and flew back. The team cheered. Captain Vorn stood tall. "Charge the fusion cores!" One by one, the cores filled with energy. Each one was like a tiny star of its own. "Ready for ignition," said Leon. "Countdown begins now," Vorn said. All over the galaxy, people watched. Screens lit up in cities, villages, ships, and farms. From crystal towers on planet Zarinth to floating gardens on Arvaron, eyes were locked on the star. 3, 2, 1, ignite. The stars around Jaros seemed to freeze. Then, light exploded. The Ring of Fire released a synchronized blast of energy. It hit the star's surface, pushed into the pressure zones, and spread across the collapsing layers. Jaros screamed. Solar storms broke free. Plasma clouds shot outward. For a moment, everyone thought it had failed. Then, the pressure waves stopped. The core, once shaking wildly, calmed. The outer layers began to stabilize. The light of Jaros changed. It became steady again, warm, golden. The impossible had happened. Cheers filled the air in every ship. On Earth, Elena cried. Not because she was scared, but because she had seen something that only dreamers believe in. Hope becoming real. Captain Vorn sat down slowly. His hands were shaking. "Did we do it?" he asked softly. Elena's voice came through the speaker, warm and proud. "Yes, you did it, Isaac." The council sent a message soon after. This time they did not argue. They did not scold. They simply said, "We were wrong. You were right." Later that night, Captain Vorn walked alone on the deck. He looked at Jaros, the star that almost died. He whispered, "We came here to build a shield, but we built something bigger." He looked up at the stars, as if speaking to Mira Lan, the engineer who had given her life earlier. "We built belief." After the fusion ignition was successful, a wave of silence passed through the galaxy. The star Jaros did not collapse. It didn't explode or pull the 12 planets into darkness. Instead, it glowed steady, as if breathing calmly again. From space. The ring of fire still shimmered, holding its place like a shield of light around the star. Humanity had done what no one believed was possible. But the work wasn't over. Inside the Earth space station, Elena Reyes sat at her desk, going through fresh data. Her fingers moved fast, her eyes reading graphs and numbers. The star had stabilized, for now. But there were still problems to solve. The energy balance wasn't perfect. The magnetic field of Jaros was acting strangely. If they didn't adjust. The shielding soon, the fusion blast might start breaking down again within a week. She sighed and called Captain Vorn. His face appeared on the screen, a little more relaxed now, but still tired. "You've got that look again," he said. "What look?" "The one that says, 'We just fixed the roof, but the floor is falling.'" Elena smiled faintly. "Close enough. We've slowed the collapse, but the fusion fields are weakening. If we don't add support from the outer zones, we'll lose control in 5 days. What do you need?" "I need someone to build stabilizers on the solar rings. Fast." Vorn leaned back. "Then we better call the one person who can do it." On a quiet spaceport floating above Mars, engineer Jack Tenner was fixing a broken mining drone when he received the message. Jack was a large man with rough hands, a beard full of grease, and a voice that always sounded like he just woke up. He wasn't part of the original Jaros mission. He didn't work for the Council. He was a private builder, known for doing jobs. Others wouldn't even try. The message read, "Jaros needs a stabilizer. You have 5 days. Come if you dare." Jack read the message twice, scratched his chin, and laughed. "Looks like they finally need the junkyard man," he said. He packed his tools, climbed into his old repair ship, and launched toward Jaros. 3 days later, Jack arrived. The star was even brighter than he imagined. The human ships looked small compared to the burning light behind them. Captain Vorn greeted him in the docking bay with a firm handshake. "You sure you're up for this?" Vorn asked. "I build asteroid houses from scrap and fly through solar. Wines in my sleep," Jack replied. "Let's build your stabilizer." Jack got to work right away. He studied the magnetic flow patterns, measured the gravity pulses, and talked to the fusion station AI like it was a grumpy dog. In just 12 hours, he had a design ready. "It's not pretty," he said, "but it'll hold." He called it the Anchor, a set of 4 solar stabilizers placed evenly around the orbit ring. They would balance the fusion flow, protect the ring of fire, and redirect solar storms. Jack and his team began construction using whatever metal, tools, and drones they could find. Old ship parts, melted armor, mining rods, he used everything. But time was running out. On the second day, one of the stabilizer drones was destroyed by a sudden solar burst. Jack cursed, threw a wrench, and got back to work without stopping. His hands were burned, his eyes red, but he didn't quit. Captain Vorn watched from the command deck. "He's like a human engine," Vorn said to Elena. "He's what we needed," she replied. On the 3rd night, Jack finished the last stabilizer. But as the team prepared to test it, the unexpected happened. A strange signal appeared. It wasn't from the human fleet or the Council. It came from the edge of the Jaros system. A new ship, one no one had ever seen before, was approaching. Its design was ancient. Its engines were silent. Its surface was covered in markings that looked older than any known language. Elena narrowed her eyes. "What is that?" "No ID code," said Vorn. Should we raise shields? But before anyone could act, the ship sent a simple message. We TSKT are the Watchers of Flame. Do not touch the heart of stars again. The message was sent in dozens of alien languages, including English. The room went quiet. Who are they? Asked a pilot. Elena whispered, I've read about them. In old myth files. A species that watches over stars. No one believed they were real. Now they were here. The ship stopped near Jaros but did not attack. Instead, it floated silently. Watching, Captain Vorn opened a channel. This is Captain Vorn of Earth's fleet. We saved this star. We did not mean harm. No reply. Elena tried next. We respect your warning, but millions live because of what we did. Still no reply. The alien ship sent only one last message. The stars remember. Then it turned and vanished into deep space. The humans were left, in silence. Jack scratched his head. We fix a star, and now ghosts start showing up? Captain Vorn shook his head. Let's finish the job. With the stabilizers in place, the energy fields around Jaros balanced out. The wild pulses became smooth. The fusion core stopped shaking. The ring of fire glowed stronger than ever. The mission was now complete. A day later, the Galactic Council held a broadcast. Every planet, every ship, and every citizen watched. The Illyri Elder stepped forward. When we called the problem impossible, we believed we were right, he said. But we forgot one thing. What humans call impossible is just the start of their journey. Cheers filled the halls. The Corthan general added, they gave more than machines. They gave sacrifice. They gave hope. And then, the council gave something unexpected. They offered humanity the first permanent seat on the Galactic Engineering Board. Elena accepted on behalf of Earth. Captain Vorn stood beside her. Jack cleaned grease off his hands and waved to the cameras. From the frozen moons of Virex to the sand cities of Talos V, people cheered. For the first time in galactic history, humans were no longer the newcomers. They were the ones who had saved a star. They were the ones who had rewritten the word impossible. It had been 1 week since the stabilizers were finished and Jaros was saved. Across the galaxy, people still talked about it. News channels showed clips of Captain Vorn and Dr. Elena Reyes. Kids on distant planets played games called Fix the Star. Statues were being planned on several worlds, with human faces at the center. But deep in space, far beyond Jaros, something was waking up. In the ruins of an ancient station floating in the darkness, lights blinked for the first time in 1,000 years. A signal pulsed from its core, slow at first, then faster. It was not a distress signal. It was a warning. The Watchers had spoken, but their message had not been heard fully. Back on the Earth command ship near Jaros, Elena sat with a cup of tea. Her hands were finally steady. The tension in her shoulders had relaxed. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't surrounded by warning lights and danger, but her peace didn't last. Dr. Reyes, called Leanne from the control room, we're receiving strange readings from the outer solar band. Elena walked over, placing her cup down. What kind of readings? Leanne pointed to the screen. A wave, moving fast. It's not natural, not solar. Captain Vorn joined them. Could be a rogue ship? Leanne shook her head. Too big. It's like a field, energy-based, headed straight for Jaros. Alarms began to beep. Time until contact? Vorn asked. 3 hours. Elena's eyes narrowed. Get Jack on the comms. We need him. Jack Tenner was already at work fixing one of the stabilizers when the call came in. Covered in dust and grease, he answered with a grin. You call me every time the universe breaks, huh? This time it might be worse, Elena said. Jack flew his repair ship to the command station and studied the wave. His smile faded. That's no natural energy field, he said. It's artificial, like someone activated an old trap. Vorn's voice grew serious. Trap? For what? For anyone who tried to stop Zaros from collapsing, Jack said, whoever built this, they wanted the star to die. Elena stared at the screen. The wave wasn't slowing down. It was speeding up. It wasn't just a wave. It was a shutdown. Pulse. If it reached the stabilizers or fusion rings, everything would collapse again. We need a barrier, Vorn said. Or a way to absorb the wave, Elena added. Jack scratched his chin. I've got an idea, but it's risky, he explained. The plan. They could reprogram one of the fusion reactors to act like a sponge, to pull the wave inside and trap it. But it had to be done manually. And only someone with Jack's skills could adjust the power flow without causing a meltdown. Vorn looked at him. Will it work? Jack shrugged. We'll find out. They flew to Station 11, the closest one to the incoming wave. Jack entered. Through the maintenance bay. The heat inside was intense. The reactor pulsed loudly, like a metal heartbeat. He began rerouting the energy coils. Elena guided him over comms. Leon sent him the wave frequency. Vorn kept the ship steady outside. The Des wave drew closer. It was like a glowing wall, dark blue and silver, moving silently through space. Smaller drones caught in its path were crushed instantly. Jack wiped sweat from his forehead. Almost there. Outside, the team prepared to ignite the pull charge. 3 minutes to contact, Leon said. Jack worked faster. His hands moved across controls. Sparks flew, warnings blinked, but the system responded. Now! Jack shouted. The fusion station glowed brightly. It fired a narrow beam directly into the wave. At first, nothing happened. Then, the wave curved, just, slightly, and began to flow into the reactor. It's working, Elena whispered. But something was wrong. The reactor wasn't built to hold that much power. Its systems began to overload. It's too much, Jack said. The core's cracking. He had only one choice. He could eject the core, releasing the energy into space, but the blast might damage other stabilizers, or he could stay, seal the chamber, and direct the energy deep into the star itself. Vorn's voice came through the speaker. Jack, get out of there! Jack looked at the stars, then back at the control panel. If I leave, the wave comes back. He smiled sadly. I already lived a full life, he said. Now I'll help others live theirs. He locked the chamber. Then, in a single moment, Jack redirected the energy into Zaros. The star shook again, but did not break. Instead, it absorbed the pulse. The light of the star dimmed briefly, then became stronger. The wave was gone. The fusion reactor had burned out completely. Jack's ship floated empty nearby. There was silence. Then Elena spoke, her voice trembling. He did it. Captain Vorn nodded slowly. He saved us. Again. Back on Earth, news spread of Jack's sacrifice. Across the 12 planets, people held moments of silence. A monument was built on the largest moon near Zaros, a metal hand holding a wrench, pointing toward the star. The Galactic Council sent new ships to study the shutdown wave. They found ruins, old machines, hidden in space, designed long ago, to destroy any force that tried to control stars. No one knew this existed, said the Ilari elder. Some ancient race didn't want stars to be saved. Too bad, Vorn said quietly. They didn't meet humans sooner. Later, Elena returned to her lab. She sat alone, staring at the blinking lights. One light blinked slowly, Jack's last message, recorded just before the reactor sealed. If you're watching this, it means I did it, his voice said. Don't be sad. I never wanted a quiet life. I wanted to build something that mattered, and we did. Tell Vorn to take a break, and tell you. Thank you for believing in junkyard men. Elena smiled with tears in her eyes. He mattered, she whispered. Outside the lab, Jaros burned steady. It was no longer a dying star. It was a star protected by courage, sacrifice, and impossible hope. And the galaxy had learned something important. When humans say they'll fix it, they mean it. The star Jaros now glowed peacefully in space. Its golden light reached across the system like a warm hug to the 12 alien worlds that had once faced doom. Thanks to humanity's bold actions, it did not die. It did not explode. It lived, and it changed everything. For the first time in galactic history, humans were no longer treated as a new species or simply the emotional ones. Now they were seen as the ones who saved a star. They had proven that courage, creativity, and sacrifice could do what logic alone could not. But while peace returned to the galaxy, there was still work to do. Inside the Earth Command ship near Jaros, Dr. Elena Reyes stood before a room full of scientists, engineers, and representatives from other species. Behind her, a large screen showed the final report. Energy flow stable. No signs of collapse. Fusion ring fully secure. She spoke with calm strength. The mission is complete. Jaros will live, but we must learn from this. Somewhere in the dark, someone or something tried to stop us, not because we were wrong, but because we succeeded. A Corthan scientist nodded slowly. The ancient traps, the shutdown wave, someone long ago didn't want stars to be controlled. Elena looked around. We must find out why. The Galactic Council agreed. A new research team was formed, made of humans and aliens alike, to search for the source of the wave, the strange ruins, and the unknown enemy that had left behind the deadly pulse. Captain Vorn was asked to lead the mission. At first, he refused. He stood alone in his cabin, staring at Jack Tenner's empty tool belt, which hung beside his coat. "I already lost too many," he said to Elena. "I need a break." But Elena knew him too well. She stepped forward and placed her hand gently on his arm. "You once said you'd rest after saving the galaxy. You did that, but now the galaxy needs someone to protect what we saved." He looked into her eyes and nodded. "I'll go. For Jack, for Mira, for all of them." 3 days later, a new ship named the Sentinel was launched. Bigger, stronger, and built for deep space exploration, it carried a team of scientists, soldiers, and explorers. Captain Vorn stood at the helm once more, ready to lead humanity into the unknown. As the Sentinel moved away from Jaros, Elena stayed behind to lead the new Galactic Star Protection Center. Her job was to make sure no other star was ever left unguarded again. She worked with engineers from all across the galaxy, Alari, Corthans, Arvans, and even smaller races that had once stayed quiet. Now, they came forward with ideas, hope, and unity. In just a few months, more fusion rings were built on other unstable stars. Jack's design for solar stabilizers was used again and again. His name became part of the engineering textbooks. Children drew pictures of him holding his wrench, smiling. Even Mira Lan, who had died saving Station 3, became a symbol of bravery. A scholarship in her name helped young students from poor planets study science and space engineering. Earth itself changed. Where once humans had looked to the stars with dreams, now they looked with pride. One small planet, one wild species, one impossible mission, and they did it. One day, Elena received a message from the Sentinel. It was a live transmission. Vorn's face appeared on the screen. His beard was a bit longer now, his face tired but focused. "We found something," he said. Elena leaned forward. Vorn continued. "A ruined station, like the one near Jaros, but this one's bigger, much older, covered in symbols we don't recognize, and inside, we found a voice." "A voice?" Elena asked. "Yes," he said. "A recording. From whoever left the shutdown wave." He played it. A strange sound filled the room, like wind through broken glass. Then came words, deep, slow, and ancient. Stars are not to be tamed. Those who touch the fire shall face the end. The voice faded. Elena stared at the screen, heart beating fast. "What does it mean?" asked a young engineer beside her. Vorn replied, "It means this isn't over." He paused, then added, "But we're not afraid." Over the next few weeks, the team on the Sentinel explored more ruins. They found strange machines buried in asteroids, half-broken maps, old warnings. A pattern began to form. Long ago, a forgotten civilization had tried to control the stars, but something had gone wrong. Their machines turned on them. Their power became their curse. And so they vanished. But not before leaving traps, shut-down waves, false signals, and warnings to stop others from repeating their mistakes. Elena and the Galactic Council studied this carefully. They understood the danger. But they also understood something else. Humans had not repeated old mistakes. They had approached the stars not with greed, but with purpose. Not to control, but to protect. And that made all the difference. Months passed. Jaros became a symbol of peace. Tourists visited the moon where Jack's statue stood. Scientists gave talks under the golden light of the star. Alien children learned human words like hope, fight, and fix it. And far in the distance, the Sentinel continued its search, mapping dangers, studying ruins, and making sure the galaxy stayed safe. One evening, Elena walked alone through a quiet garden built on the new space station orbiting Jaros. She looked up at the star. It blinked gently, like a living eye. A child walked past her, pointing up. "Look," the child said. "That's the star the humans saved." Elena smiled. "No," she said softly. "That's the star we all saved, together." As the light of Jaros warmed her face, Elena felt something rise in her chest. Not fear, not pride, but calm. They had done the impossible, and now they were ready for whatever came next. The end.